Hi everyone, I'm Cory Anotado, the executive producer of Tell Us About Yourself, conversations with game show contestants. Our first season has come to a close, and our host Christian Carrion is taking a well-deserved break. He'll be back in the new year with new episodes of the podcast. Meanwhile, I'll be replaying some of our favorite episodes, giving you a chance to listen again to some of the greatest stories we have from the stars of your favorite game shows, the contestants. We couldn't do this without your help, so we appreciate you listening and supporting the podcast. We also could not have done this without the support of the National Archives of Game Show History at the Strong National Museum of Play. The National Archives of Game Show History at the Strong preserves the history of game shows, from the earliest panel shows and quiz scandals, to the games and puzzles of the 1970s, to the Big Money Network series, and the classic games now in prime time. You can learn more about the archives or the museum itself at their website, museumofplay.org. We would also appreciate if you visited our Patreon page. You can support the podcast for as little as $1 per month. You can check that out and more at patreon.com/packdo. Now, without further ado, here's an encore episode of Tell Us About Yourself, conversations with game show contestants.
Tell us about yourself, would you?
Tell us something about you.
For any new viewers, why don't you tell us again about yourself?
We've met before, but let's meet again. Tell us about yourself.
What else can you tell us about yourself?
Perhaps you'd fill us in again and tell us about yourself.
I'm Christian Carrion. If a card on The Price is Right comes with paint and fabric protectant, the price will most likely end in a 1. If the category of a Wheel of Fortune puzzle is same name, N and D are guaranteed good guesses since the word "and" will be in there. As Michael Larson could have told you, the big money square on the Press Your Luck board is number 4. There are certain game shows that, when watched frequently enough, allow the viewer, whether they know it or not, to peek behind the curtain and become privy to the patterns they're powered by. Rob McKee is a programmer whose early obsession with game shows and casinos not only led him to invent a table game that won UNLV's Casino Innovation of the Year as well as a US patent, but also propelled him to success as a contestant on a word game that he had been watching, analyzing, slicing, dicing, and damn near solving for the majority of his existence on Earth. Let's talk to the biggest fan of Lingo who ever lived. Rob, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself.
My name is Robert McKee. I am a programmer and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I had broken the Lingo bonus round record in 2005 and was invited back on the show in 2007 for Tournament of Champions.
You and I are in pretty much the same circle as far as online game show nerds. So I know that game shows shaped your life growing up. So I'd like to get a little deeper than that. What kind of game shows were you into? What type of game show spoke to you when you were growing up? Assuming you were a game show fan as a kid, the way all of us, or a lot of us were.
Yeah, I can tell from a lot of your podcasts, you and I, we might actually be twins. I was born in New York in the mid '70s, and my only memory of living in New York, because we moved to Texas when I was 3, is the original Joker's Wild. And how do you not have spinning reels of a slot machine speak to a child, right? So I definitely have visuals of that memory. and that might have actually kick-started fanaticism with the casino industry later on in my life. But later on, of course, just like everybody else, you're sick home from school, the standard, everyone watches The Price is Right. Some of us a little more than others. I just recently found a batch of kindergarten drawings from Mrs. Moon's kindergarten class where she asked us to draw a game, and everybody else drew like footballs and hopscotch, and my drawings were of the high-low and temptation and any number games from The Price is Right. So that kind of gives you a sense as a 6-year-old of what I was into.
We were kindred spirits. I can see that.
Yeah. And I'm the first to admit it's totally weird. I think a lot of us embrace that now. It is funny. It's a weird genre to be into, to say you're kind of a game show dork. But I think a lot of people kind of wear that with pride now, and it's a funny group to be a part of. When I was would say when I was older in the mid 80s, the two shows that really spoke to me were Pyramid and Scrabble. I could be because they're both word games, but really it was the tension that was created on both those shows that really just grabbed my attention. You look back on those shows and you see, maybe from a modern production standard, people might think they're cheesy, low budget looking. But if you kind of just think back on like the Winner Circle and the tension that was created by Dick Clark, the lights, dimmed, and he's saying, "Here's your first subject," and the Trilon makes that clicky sound, flips over. The guy's got freaking arm restraints. You're in arm restraints, having to give clues to somebody. It was really, the ticking of the clock. They really created this great dramatic bonus round, and it was so exciting for me to watch. I don't know why. It was just such an impression on me. But I love that show.
So, have you ever taken a second to analyze the sound of the bonus round timer from Pyramid and just what that sound is comprised of?
Yes,
it's just a flute and a wood block, or whatever it is. Just that just that tick, that old school kind of game show tick, and it's amazing. Like if we were to talk about it from like a music standpoint, it'd be like minimalist production. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of tension stripped down to its bare element. It's a really fascinating sound.
Yeah, it is, and it's not distracting to the players because I think they can hear it. I'm pretty sure they can hear it. I mean, and it just adds to the tension. I mean, think about just a digital beep sound of some game shows clocks. It doesn't have that panache, if you will, of the Pyramid Winner Circle timer. And the same thing goes with Scrabble. I mean, even though it wasn't musical, it was like an accented hi-hat that was kind of, even though. So kind of exposing my nerddom here. I mean, I've slowed it down to see if it really matched the tenths of a second precision of the clock. It doesn't, but that's okay because they're giving us the impression it does. And the numbers ticking down in a tenth of a second, you feel like you're hearing that. And it creates this urgency, like there's a timer ticking to the tenths of a second, and it just I mean, everything about that show also, it just was so over the top, unnecessary, but still great as a fan of it, So those two shows are kind of like the 1-2 punch of just like tension bonus rounds that I thought were just fantastic watching.
Scrabble has come up fairly often recently in some of these interviews that I've been doing, and one of the aspects of the show that comes up frequently lately is the sound of Scrabble. The fact that there was a sound effect for everything, and it was a very sonically rich show. And looking back and realizing the show was on from 84 to 89, that was significant technology that they had to employ in order to make all of that go off without a hitch. There's so many sounds involved in that show. And, I was fascinated with it when I was younger, too. It's one of those shows that I have a vague memory of from, like, reruns on USA. And I think it's one of those shows that I watched before I even realized what it was about. I just loved the look of it, and I loved the sounds of it. And And, going back to something you mentioned about growing up in the 70s, or The Joker's Wild being one of those shows that you have memories of, the giant slot machine. I mean, to be a kid who loves game shows in the 70s, there are so many shows like that, in the span of a few years that I think had the potential to capture kids' imaginations like that. I mean, there were so many larger than life things. I mean, you had a massive pinball machine at one point, massive tic-tac-toe,
Right.
Massive dice, massive playing cards. I mean, that had to have spoken
Spinning bullseyes.
Right.
I mean, with tic-tac-toe, I mean, basically it's every kid's dream is pick a number from 1 to 9. I mean, that's like a total game to a child. And then there's a creepy figure behind one of them, which, by the way, my conspiracy theory is that it was always behind number 6. And if I ever get the chance to ask Wink that, I will need to confirm this, but I always thought it was behind number 6. And whenever a contestant picked 6 as their first number, I literally would yell, "No, don't you watch the show?" But, of course I was like 5, 7. But yeah, I mean, no, those are, I mean, here you have an array of 9 TV screens arranged in a tic-tac-toe board. I don't know if this is just me. I'm pretty sure other people in our circle have done this, but as a child, you kind of dream of doing that, like in your house, like how cool would that be to have 9 TV screens and just put them in a 3x3 grid and make a weird bonus round just to do it. It just seems like a lot of my fantasies had to do with.
I wanted to
rounds.
do that. I wanted to do that very frequently when I was younger. I wanted to build my own press your luck board. And I thought it was easy. I thought I'll just find 18 TVs. They're always at Goodwill. I'll just find 12.5 TVs, plug them all in, figure out how to get a picture on each one, and I'll build my own press your luck board.
Light bulbs.
You're right. And then you realize, the possibility of radiation seeping into your home.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
raises exponentially with 18 CRT TVs in one spot. But it was still fun to think about. It captures your imagination. It's that's one of the things that I think I find in common with a lot of the shows that I grew up watching, and I wanted to emulate the people on those shows. And a good game show captures your imagination like that, which a lot of those shows from the late 70s, early 80s, to me, that's like part of the golden age of this type of TV.
Yeah, it really was. And again, like looking back, of course, the production value, people would sneer at it if they're used to the current crop of shows. But really, for its day, a lot of, even though there were bloopers and there were a lot of mess ups. I mean, really, Scrabble specifically, there was so much shit going on in that show. It wasn't just the sound effects. I mean, there were a million things. When you watch it, it's funny. It's like I always think about how there must have been a team of people that sat around and decided each element, okay, we're gonna have 12 tiles pop up from this cabinet, and they're gonna drop them into a box. Letters are gonna appear. It's gonna make a ding sound. It's gonna make that little sound, and then every single thing you see. It really is so complicated when you break it all down, and like if you were trying to explain Scrabble to like an alien or somebody who's never seen it before. I mean, where do you start? You're like, okay, there's this big rotating cube, and this door's open, and it makes this cool little sound, and then Chuck says building on the letter. I mean, there's like so much to it, even though really it's kind of a simple game. It's like 3 words and you win and you go on. I mean, but it's like a lot of shit going on.
Not to mention the fact that there is a full-blown projector in the middle of that cube, and the cube can only turn a certain way because the wires inside are only of a certain length. And if you get somebody who doesn't know how to operate the cube, they can shut everything down for months. Correct. I've talked to at least 2 people at this point who've worked on the original Scrabble, and the consensus seems to be that it was a fun show to work on. It was a very slow show to work on, and there were a lot of technical mishaps and stop downs and fixing it in post, and
but you know what?
Things on the fly.
It was all worth it, wasn't it? Though. I mean,
yes, and that's what
end.
it's honestly, it's an element of game shows that I miss. I remember back in the day. And I think The Price is Right is like the perfect example of this. I remember watching shows like The Price is Right and hoping that something would go wrong. No offense to the people on the show, but it was just so much more fun when things kind of went off the rails. It was unpredictable.
Right.
And
Showed
you
it that
had
they were
people,
human.
right. And you had hosts like Chuck Woolery, you had hosts like Bob Barker who could play with that, who could, take what to another host might be a negative situation and use that to their advantage and have fun with it because they knew that people were watching and hoping that something went wrong as well.
Right. How many times have you seen Chuck Woolery kind of pause and then just look off to the side, have that kind of grin and laugh, and then he looks at the camera and says some kind of wry comment, sometime,
Right. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
He played with it. I mean, instead, like when there's kind of one of my favorite clips is when just by luck of the letters popping into the word, it was TIT was on the screen in succession, and it's funny. I mean, sophomoric, like tit, but it stayed on the screen for like a minute and a half, and they just kept cutting to Chuck, and he would just double overlap because it's funny. It's like okay, the word tit is on national television during a time when they censored everything. I mean, you couldn't say tit, and you certainly couldn't show the word tit on the screen on purpose. But it's a word game, and these are random letters, right? So I mean, I just kind of makes you wonder, like if worse words appeared, like how far would they take it? But again, Chuck, he wasn't the kind of guy that would get angry and stop the show and like be serious about. I mean, him laughing about this stuff kind of made it like we were all in on the joke, and it's all fun.
Oh, he was so self-deprecating. That's what I loved about early Chuck Woolery. I think about him on Love Connection and on Scrabble, and from what I've seen of him on Wheel of Fortune, when I've been lucky enough to see of him when he hosted Wheel of Fortune back in the day, that is one of my favorite qualities. And I realize that as I get older.
Well, he was definitely a cool guy, no question about it. But at the same time, he was convincingly having fun. It wasn't like he was faking having a good time, and he really would look like he was having a fun with these shows.
Right. Well, exactly, and so again, like that idea of the host that always knows what to say, and it's just like the perfect cookie cutter image of what a person on television should be, is like so played out. And he had the look for sure. He looked like a game show host, but the fact that he can mess up his lines and call attention to it, you know what I mean? And kind of comment on how ridiculous he sounds stumbling over the rules for a game that he's hosted for half a decade. I mean, that's fun. It's relatable. That puts him on the same level as the people watching.
That's right. And I think that he put the contestants at ease a bit too, when they saw that he was so chill about it. There was no tension. There was no, it's Chuck. He's a god. I think that he kind of set the tone for people to feel a bit more relaxed on his shows. It seems that's kind of the impression I get.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And it goes back to, I mean, this is advice that I received when I was getting ready to DJ a wedding years ago, and a friend of mine who had DJ'd a few things, I was real nervous about it. I'd never really done this kind of thing before, and it was kind of a favor to a friend, but I kind of communicated my nervousness to this other friend that I had, and he said, if you have fun, they have fun. And
Right.
I feel like that is the best advice you could give to somebody who's going to be on TV. You can't go wrong with going out there and looking like you're having as much fun as you possibly can, because it's contagious. It's infectious. People will watch you have fun, and they will have fun watching you. And, mission accomplished, right?
Yeah. I mean, what a job, right?
Amazing. Amazing. At what point in your life did you begin to picture yourself as a potential contestant? Was that ever part of the dream for you to be
of
on
course.
the show? Yeah.
Well, really, I mean, Pyramid was the one show I really just wanted to go on, and it was. I guess growing up watching it, I always felt like I would be really good at it. And when you watch a show like that, you pick up on what are the quintessential clues, and even these veteran celebrities that go on these shows. As a watcher, you can still kind of critique. I mean, you can play armchair quarterback with these shows, and just kind of and say, no, Soupy, that's you're getting off track. But I've had dreams of going on Pyramid, and of course giving the clues in the winner circle, which it always boggled me why more contestants did not do that. But um, I you know Pyramid stopped being a thing. The Dick Clark version, what was it? Yeah, 88,
87
9?
or 88, I think.
Right.
88, I
So
believe.
so that dream came to an abrupt end at that moment, and and this is back kind of during the time when there weren't all these reboots and resurgence of game shows. I mean, it wasn't obvious if you saw a game show canceled that it would ever be back again. I mean, that wasn't really a common thing, it seemed to me. Once it's gone, it's like, well, that's it. I mean, there's always hope. Okay, maybe they bring it back, but we've seen that a million times since. But in the 80s, like, you're not sitting there thinking like, oh, one day I'll go on Pyramid when I'm in my 20s because it'll be back, right?
Yeah,
So
that's so true. And I think also, with rare exception, uh, the viewing audience had not nearly as much say over what they wanted on TV as they do now. I mean, these days, if a show gets canceled, you can petition on Facebook and you can
right.
get 10,000 people together to,
Rally
tag
the troops.
head of the network and, mention how
Right.
much you like the show, you wish it was back, and then they bring it back on streaming, or, there's just
Right. Back
just
then,
so
it was
much
a
of a-
Nielsen box was really all that ruled that, right? I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of told you what you wanted rather
Right.
than the other way around.
and if there was an army of people that were outraged that Pyramid was gone, I mean, they were all like lone wolves. There wasn't like a way. There wasn't an internet where everyone could band together and say, "Hey, assholes, bring that show back." I mean, that wasn't a thing, right? So, um, you know, but it is surprising to me, as popular as that show was and as legendary as it was, that it did go away. And so I wouldn't say that like the dream of going on a game. I mean, I always knew like, no, one day I will go on a game show. But living in Texas, that's not really a thing, right? I mean, you gotta go to LA. There's a whole, the path to it as a teen was not really like an obvious thing to me. Now, so my grandparents lived in Fort Lauderdale, Hallandale Beach in Florida. And during spring break one year, just across the Intracoastal Waterway at the Diplomat Hotel, they were taping the Florida Hollywood Squares, right? So I always have to point out to people that really technically it's Hallandale, Florida, and not Hollywood, but that's okay. But I was about 13, and we swung by the Diplomat. It was taped by the pool area. I mean, this blimp was overhead for like a week, and we could see it out my grandparents' balcony. And so but again, there was no internet, so really there wasn't, you wouldn't know what was going on there. It wasn't like something announced, if there was a game show taking place. But we just happened to go over there, and as a spectator near the pool area, I did get to see Jim J. Bullock, and I think Diane Parkinson and Janice Pennington were on that show, Phyllis Diller, and of course Shadow. And so that was my first like exposure to an actual in-person game show. I never really was like a hardcore Hollywood Squares fan, but it was just kind of cool to see a game show like in person. That was the first time I've got to experience that. So that kind of lit the fire again to just kind of cement like, okay, it is my destiny one day to go on a game show. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I just figured I would will it to happen.
Sure. And that was a fire that had been burning for a while. You mentioned the Joker's Wild, and you mentioned that the large slot machine had a sort of effect on you. What did that spark in your life going forward?
It's weird, obviously as a 3-year-old, I had no idea what potpourri and world capitals and the little categories were. Now, watching that show, of course, I could credit picking up on some trivia over the course of my life just by watching it. But obviously, like, just the spinning reels of a slot machine really is something that kind of fascinating to a child. It just looked like fun. It looked like you pull a handle and these random symbols appear on reels, and a game occurs out of it. Just by nature of my parents being fans of Vegas, we would drive to Vegas several times throughout my childhood. I mean, I've skipped school for us to go to Vegas. It's a 22-hour drive, and we'd just get in the RV and drive out to Vegas several times during my childhood. And I just this was during a time when kids kind of really weren't allowed to be in the casino, but in Vegas specifically, you have to walk through the casino to get to your room. So you kind of had to walk through it versus other cities where they really have kind of separated hotels from casinos. And so I got to see a lot of these, casino games. I love card games, and there were just slot machines, right? So it was neat to see that in person. And I, not that I was trying to feed any kind of budding gambling, what do they call it? Degenerative type of obsession. But here you are playing card games for money, and that just seemed really cool to see it in real life, right? So and slot machines, right?
It's very game show.
Yeah,
it's very
exactly.
Game show. You're playing a game for money and having that fascination with game shows. I could see how these would go hand in hand.
Yeah. How many game shows, I mean, have elements of casino stuff in it? High Rollers had craps. Price is Right had kind of a version of blackjack. Hit Me had blackjack. I mean,
poker game. There's Card Sharks. There's
Card Sharks.
Yeah, so many
obviously
shows.
Joker's Wild. Trying to think if there's any roulette related games. Well, I mean, I guess technically Wheel of Fortune, if you will, but and there is a Wheel of Fortune in the casino. I mean, with the dollar bills pasted to, it's a vertical wheel, but it's So there are elements of casino. There's a merging of casinos and game shows, like, definitely, right? So, as a child, just not being allowed to play, but watching it from a distance, it just kind of, it looked fun. And it started to plant this weird seed that I thought maybe, I mean, I'm talking about when I'm like 11, and I'm thinking like this is something I want to pursue, like a career in this weird world I'm standing in, because it's all about just games and money. And it just seemed like what's not to like. It's just nothing but fun. Not taking away the real life aspects of gambling per se. Just, you have a game and you win money, possibly. I mean, that's the 1-2 punch of just like fun, right? So now what's interesting is, as an extension of that, we visit New York every year, and if I am correct on this, I think you went to high school in Westport, Connecticut. Is that true?
West Haven. Yeah, that's okay.
You went to high school in West Haven, Connecticut, and that is near Milford. Is that right?
Yeah, that's like the next town. Well, yeah, next town over. Yeah,
not far.
No, not far at all. Yeah,
and
if that.
And you know what Milford's famous for? Back in the 80s, 70s, 80s. Besides being the home of Subway.
Highlight.
That's right.
Highlight was huge over there.
Milford Highlight, baby. So we would take, what was it, like a 2.5 hour drive from New York City, right? We would actually make that drive so we could go check out Highlight. And it, yes, there was a gambling aspect to it. I also happen to like racquetball and like, handball type games. So it's just like this kind of combination. It's from Spain. They're wearing these big baskets in their hands and they're hurling a ball at a wall, racquetball style, and you get to bet on it. And the betting is kind of like horse racing, except it's one-on-one. But did you ever go?
I never got to go. I wasn't old enough to go, and by the time I was old enough, it had been closed for a few years.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And
that's weird too, because in the 70s it was huge in Connecticut and Florida. For some reason, those two states just had what they call a fronton. There were, in Florida there must have been like 6 or 7, and I think Connecticut there were 2 or 3. And so it was legal in those two states as parimutuel betting. And the way it worked was there were 8 different players, but it was like a round robin where it'd be one-on-one. Whoever won, kind of like a King of the Hill thing, whoever won that point, the loser would go back in line, and the next person would play against the guy that just won, and so on. And you kind of bet on it like horse racing. I kind of got a fascination from that too. And again, not that I'm sitting there as a teenager just degenerately gambling on this. It's just you're watching a really fun game that each point takes like a minute, maybe 30 seconds to play out, and you win money if you pick the right dudes. I mean, it was just it kind of, I hate to say, like my teenage years and these kind of wagering pastimes kind of had an influence on just my way of thinking about games and about just that the whole industry behind all that. So but to answer your question, I don't want to jump topics here, but it's relevant.
Sure.
So in third grade, my third grade teacher, Mr. Hunter, brought, this is in 1983, right? So this really wasn't a thing otherwise, but he brought an Apple IIc to school and just kind of had it there. No one else did this. No other teacher had a computer just sitting there for the taking, for you to just mess around with. And I think it was your TED your Terry episode. No, I'm sorry, your TED episode where you kind of talked about early computers, consumer grade computers from the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, a little bit with so a little bit of Ted, but also Sasha from Child's Play.
Yeah, right.
Right. He was big into computers. Yeah.
Right. So this is 83. He had an Apple IIc, and the games it came with were Oregon Trail and this weird game called Bagel Pico Fermi. You've heard of that?
No, never.
Okay. Bagel Pico Fermi is like a precursor to Lingo. It's basically you give it a 3-digit number, and it tells you bagel means none of the numbers that you guessed are in the magic number. Pico means that it is in the number but not in that position, and Fermi means it is in that position. It's just like how Lingo is played. So that this computer had that, and some other just rudimentary old school green screen games, but it was that just the idea that you could make games on it, because he would tell us, like these are programmed by people, and some of them just programmed by one person, and they just learned the language and made this game. And these games are, like Oregon Trail and all those are super simple games, and it really just kind of lit this thought that I could do that. I mean, he wasn't teaching us computer programming, but it demonstrated that making games was a thing, right? That's something that was not on my radar as a third grader in 83, that a career path could be making games. It's just absurd, right? So for Christmas, I asked for an Apple IIc, right? And I remember my brother and I used to peek in our parents' closet where they hid the Christmas presents they were wrapping. And I was very pissed to see that they got an IBM PC Junior instead. Because I guess I must have just asked for a computer. I didn't specify, or she, I don't know, saw a deal or so, I don't know. And so I was like, what is this shit? And so Christmas comes, I already knew what it was, this big box, we're opening it. And I'm like, I was just so like, oh, because IBM, all I knew about it as a 9-year-old was International Business Machines. It sounds like it's a business computer. I didn't think it would be fun. Then I turn it on, and holy shit, I mean, it lit up in color. It had triple tone sound. I was like, oh shit, okay. So it was like way cooler. And it came with this basic cartridge and a 3-ring binder that's just had like all the commands for basic. It was as if like you're buying this computer. What comes with it is here's a language you can maybe learn. It was just strange that came with it, but it didn't come with a lot of. I really wanted a slot machine game. Okay, so I was like, they don't sell one. I'm just gonna have to make it. So that was my goal. I set out to make a slot machine game, and at the age of 10, I did it. It was crude and it was all ASCII looking, but I was like, I showed myself like just with a handful of commands, I kind of learned how to do this, and that really put me on the course. It sounds silly. I made a slot machine game, out of like rectangles and hearts and clubs and spades and weird smiley faces, but I mean, it did plant a seed, and then it led me to to insane things later on in my life. So
well, it's very empowering. That's a very empowering sort of achievement. That idea that you can make what you want. If you want a game, you can put the shit together and make it yourself. And I've had experiences throughout my young life that gave me that same sort of empowerment that I sort of credit with some of the creative achievements I've had years later. I think back to, being 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, having exposure to television equipment and public access TV, and having exposure to I'm an Apple IIe. That was my first computer, and just being able to play with those things, sort of unfettered. I just got to do whatever I want. That's very empowering for a person of that age. And it's interesting to me that all of these experiences, your time on Lingo in 2005 feels like a sort of confluence of all of these things. Not only in terms of being a game show experience and becoming a contestant on a show, but meeting Chuck Woolery, who hosted a show that you were fascinated with for years and years, Scrabble, and the way you went about playing the game. And I won't step on your toes too much when it comes to that aspect of it, but it's interesting to me that this contestant experience is a sort of, again, like an intersection of all of these influences that planted a seed in your life early on.
Yeah, here's what's weird is that I really, again, this was not on my radar. I never thought this would become a career. I never, I was just doing this pissing around because the IBM PC Junior did not come with the casino games that I wanted to have. So I just figured, and I made a little like a little crappy let's make a deal, and I was making the game shows were coming out of me, right? But it's once you learn how to do one thing, you start thinking like, well, in BASIC there's only like a core 20 commands that you use over and over again. And I just started to realize like, oh, I can randomize this and I can get this to display. And so I'll take you through how the Lingo saga came about. And I think it was 86, if not 87, the Canadian Lingo starring Michael Reagan aired on like one of our very high UHF channels. It only aired for a year, and I don't know how I stumbled upon it. It was just one of those just random, it wasn't something that they had billboards about. I mean, you just had to just be flipping channels, probably between like Gomer Pyle and Green Acres. I don't even know like how I found this, but it was
right. It was just some syndicated show.
Right. And it was, and I would have to say it was pretty obscure. Like at the time, there's no chance any of my friends in school would have seen it, like at that time. I mean, I looked for that kind of stuff, but I'm watching this game and I'm seeing like it. I'm like, they're playing against a computer, and it just seemed like the ultimate solitaire game. It reminded me of that Bagel Pico Fermi game. It also reminded me of the board game Mastermind, which is, they use colored pegs. You hide like a, blue, green, red, yellow, and then you cover these pegs with like a little plastic kind of dome, and then your opponent tries to guess with their own pegs. Are you familiar with Mastermind?
Very much so. Right. Yeah, very much so.
So people don't really I never really saw a lot of analogies made between Lingo and Mastermind, but really Mastermind is Lingo. It's just in colors, right? So because if you have a right color but it's in the wrong place, I think there was a way to signal that, and if it was in the right place and the right color, then there was a way to signal that. So it really is just, there's this recurring game I keep seeing throughout my childhood that there's a mystery word or number, you give a guess, and then the computer, whatever, shows back to you a response. So I'm watching Lingo and I'm thinking like this is kind of could be a really cool solitaire game. because I wanted to make a game where I could play it, where even though me being the creator, like I would know all the answers if it was like trivia or riddles or something. But I mean, if it was randomizing a word, then I really, it wouldn't be obvious that I would just know it, right? So I started thinking like, that would be a really cool game to make. So what I did was, I figured out the logic of feeding a word, 5-letter word, to a computer and having it analyze the word letter by letter and telling you if it's in the word or if it's in the right position. I mean, it's easy to do. And then, but the problem was there was no internet, right? So there weren't just 5-letter lists laying around that we could just like plug into this thing. I had to just kind of sit there and just think of 5-letter words that I wanted to put into this game. And so I just remember, and I still have these notes, kind of funny, like, all throughout 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, I have notebook paper of just lines and lines and lines of 5-letter words, where when I was bored, I would just sit there and think of more 5-letter words to pump into this game. And I ended up finally having like an array of, say, 800 or 900 words that it could choose from. And then that made it like kind of fun and challenging. So where when it randomized a word, I really wouldn't know what it was, and I'd have to guess, and I got to play Lingo, basically. So, obviously, like, there are obscure 5-letter words in the English language that you're not going to put in the game. So, I got to kind of, as I'm making this, I'm realizing like logically that's, how you make a game. And, the thing was, again, there was no internet. So, I mean, this really was just for me. There wasn't a way to distribute this. There wasn't a way to like show people, outside of just people coming over. But I mean, it wasn't like, I could get the attention of, the New York Times and sell it for $1 million, right? So
Sure.
Here I am at like 11 or 12, and I made a game. I emulated a game show I saw that was no longer on the air, and and it worked. So yeah, so I really, it was just like a fun thing for me to run and play. I called it Gimme 5. I didn't want to just call it Lingo. And I did not have the bingo draw element. I always kind of thought that was silly, I mean, the true game show purist, it's all about solving puzzles and not drawing a ball out of a hopper. I mean, I know that's kind of sounds snobby, but I mean, I always hated that part of the show.
I love the bingo part of it. I
Well,
loved it. I
visually,
thought
it was
that was
cool.
I thought it was such a nice little treat for solving your puzzle. Then you get to play a little bit of bingo. That's just something about it I just loved.
Well, look, I'm not going to shit on that element of it, especially since you liked it. I feel bad now, but no, the thing
That's all right.
No, the thing is, like, imagine like you are sitting there, ripping the game apart, and then all of a sudden you just have a bad luck of drawing like, a number or something that, didn't go your way just as luck. It's like you're not really rewarded for your skill. You then pay the penalty because of luck, which, like that's how all gambling games are, right? But I think in a game show sense, like let's say you bust your ass and you solve all these Scrabble words and you kick ass and you do it in record time, but then at the end you have to then play some weird game that is up to random chance to determine if you really won money or not. That would be some bullshit, wouldn't it? I mean, like, hey, I just solved the word catapult in like 0.0 seconds, with no letters revealed, and now I have. I don't know.
But you picked the red ball, and now it's not your turn.
Right, now you're thing. Yeah, I don't know. So I mean, I did. It's kind of, as a viewer, I just wanted to see nothing but word puzzles. I wanted to see a procession of 100 word puzzles. And I always thought that the number draw was just like wasting time. I'm like, come on, get out.
Sure. Well, Lingo puzzles are addictive too. I mean, once you do one, I mean, Wordle has showed that to everybody that once you do one, you just, you need to do another. They're just so habit forming.
Right. It's fun. I mean, and it's definitely a play along at home game. I mean, it is a game where, you even though you're not feeding the words into the computer, I mean, you're seeing what the computer's spitting back, and as a viewer, you can certainly guess and almost always feel like you're better than the player on TV. But so that really kind of, and again, making this and playing it all those years, I mean, literally from say 86 to I mean, all throughout high school. I mean, it just every time I fired up my basic stuff, I've just if I just remembered it, I would just run it, and it was fun. But I never ever thought this would be a game show again. So that's kind of that brings us to the eventual announcement by GSN that Lingo was coming back. I mean, I shit my pants.
Right. I mean, what an out there idea for a reboot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
to just grab a show that, I mean, in America, like you said, had a year in syndication, relative obscurity. I mean,
It wasn't even American.
Right. Originally, no, it was
Canadian.
Dutch.
Well,
right, Canadian, but like the Dutch version, I think lasted a really, really long time.
Yeah, but I think, I'm going to get corrected, I know, and it's cool. But I want to say the Canadian version is the OG, I think. That's also weird to me that they chose the adopted son of President Reagan to host a Canadian game show. But whatever. I mean, it still was I mean, as cheesy as it was, it still was cool, and the bonus round was great, and yes, okay, I'll concede the number draw part of the bonus round was kind of cool. I mean, I liked it. I thought that was kind of it was a cute way of building the tension and rewarding with the risk, rewarding you based on how many words you got correct.
And I'll be honest, Robert, I'm surprised that element of it didn't speak to you more. I mean, it's bingo, it's drawing numbers, it's lotto, it's keto, it's all of those things.
Yeah, it's just, think about like blackjack or craps or poker or any other game, maybe not roulette, but I mean, you have a decision and you're using logic and probability to make those decisions. With bingo, I mean, literally you're just at the mercy of what ball is drawn, and that is it. I mean, there's no decision making. There's no like, oh, I could have done it this way. I mean, it's a ball, right? So yeah, it's cool in that sense, but as a connoisseur of the true like casino game, where the player is given choices, I don't know, just drawing a ball out of a hopper was not just didn't pull me in like it should have.
Fair. But the show comes back. I think it comes back in 2002, and you appeared on the show in 2005. I'd love to know what that process was like. First of all, how did that come about for you? How did you gain the opportunity to audition or go through that process to become a contestant on Lingo?
Right. So I have gone through a litany of auditions ever since I turned 18. I mean, Wheel of Fortune, I want to say 15 times. Jeopardy, maybe 20. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Every time I went to New York, it was like a rite of passage to go by the ABC studios and do the Scantron test, maybe like 8-9 times.
Sure.
And then tons of other game shows. So I have auditioned for game shows a ton, and of course, if they ever come through the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I would always show up. And the recurring theme was that you get rejected. They don't really tell you why, but after like my 40th rejection, start to get a little self-conscious that maybe it's the way I look, maybe it's the way they judge you more on like a 10-second conversation than how you perform on the game element. Like Wheel of Fortune, they give you a sheet with blank puzzles or partially filled in puzzles. I mean, I aced that shit. I mean, I'm not trying to be a showboat, but I mean, come on. You and I can destroy those tests, right?
Oh, sure, right. Word puzzles are our thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's in our blood.
Sure.
But it doesn't matter because you could do shitty on that test, and it comes down to the 10-second shouting out your name and just kind of the way, what they want to see, right? And I've done all sorts of different strategies. I've loaded up on, 5 Jolt Colas and sugar packets to go be just insane. And, I mean, there's just all sorts of, it's like, what do they want to see? But just being rejected so many times, I'm thinking, well, okay, Lingo is now a game again. Holy shit, it's my calling. But I'm fearing that I'm not going to get on because of whatever reason it is that I have not gone on these other shows, right? Well, in Lingo, you have to have a partner. which I kind of didn't really like. I just, in the beginning, I just didn't understand. It wasn't necessary to have a partner, really. It could totally be a solo game. I guess because the original one had partners, they kept with that tradition. They've always had partners.
Sure.
They tape in LA. So really good friend of mine, I've known for a long time, Crystal, her twin sister, Heather, live in Malibu. And I'm thinking like, who do I know in the area that would want to just kind of show up, audition for hell, just for funsies, and see if we can get on a game show. And Heather was way cool about it, and she was like, yeah, well, yeah, absolutely, like fly out there. And my wife, Emily, who is the best wife in the world, is very supportive of all this. We didn't really have the money for me to be flying to LA, back and forth and auditioning and doing all this stuff. But I mean, she knew this was really like my calling, and she knew of my history with the game of Lingo, and was supportive of this. So, that kind of makes it better knowing that you have that support system. You're going out, flying out to LA. Now I had to convince the contestant coordinators that I was hardcore enough to fly back if we were to be called on, because I think that their fear, the reason why they gravitate more towards local LA people, especially like lower budget GSN type shows, is that they want to make sure you're going to show up if they're going to call you, right? I thought at the time it was kind of a cool novelty that I was not from LA. Like, hey, I'm from Texas. I mean, that's weird, right? I flew out here for that, but it really doesn't matter because they say, you brought this up before on one of your shows, that they ask you where your hometown, where you grew up was, and that is where you are originally from.
Sure.
Right? So they want to make it seem like there's a mix of people from around the country. So me being from Texas, I think maybe could have been a disadvantage, because they might think, well, how do we know you're going to be able to come out here? But I just told them I have a lot of airline miles, and I will drop everything to come out here. But not only that, I also demonstrated to the contestant coordinators that I was really hardcore at the game. And the way I was able to do that was, so in game show auditions, it's not as glamorous as what you see on TV as far as the show. I mean, the audition part is usually in some kind of dimly lit, like moldy. I mean, this is just my experience. A moldy, like old 60s office building, kind of just like handwritten signs. It's not, there's nothing glamorous about it.
You're not wrong. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing glamorous about it at all. I mean, you just think like, this is the game show on TV, but they, in their world, it doesn't matter. It's just, they just get some admin to type up some signs, and they, it's just always in this crumbly like building. I don't know what, I mean, I know LA's got like cool office buildings. It's always in this like low rent, just kind of dumpy office. And that's kind of what this was. It was like this. This wasn't a trailer, like on the lot of KTLA, I think. It was just like literally like a single wide, with a whiteboard, and the contestant coordinator was trying to test us, and she wrote on the marker board like the first letter. And I said, tell you what, if you want, you can use my website that I made. That is exactly Lingo, except at the time I called it was a 5-letter word.com or something. And I said, here, just use that. And so she would pull it up on this computer, and she's like, oh, you made this? I'm like, yeah, because I'm like that. I'm that into this game. I mean, I live and breathe this game. So yes, I made that game. And so they were using that as their audition test then on, because I could see the traffic. When I got back home, I could see the traffic hitting that site was all from LA. So they really were using it. And so I was like, well, hopefully that shows them that, I'm so just nuts about this game that they have to have me on. I mean,
and that's interesting because I think that could go one of two ways. It could be, wow, this guy really loves this game, let's put him on. Or, wow, this guy really knows this game, he's going to break the bank, keep him away from us.
Well, that's the thing. I hear that argument sometimes. And I think that, I think shows are always prepared to pay out. And I don't think that they're ever worried. Like in Lingo, in Lingo's case, at least at the time that I was on, the only thing they had to lose was $10,000. It wasn't like the more insane badass you were, the more they had to pay out. Because honestly, and I'm gonna sound really arrogant, but I think I've earned it. Is that if it was commensurate on your level of play, those fuckers owe me about $10 million. I'm kidding. But I digress. I'm just saying, if they're prepared to pay out $10,000, then that's, I don't think that was something that, they were worried about, especially they weren't returning champions and all that. So, I mean, the question is, do you want a good show? Do you want to show people that are competitive and know how to play and will give an entertaining show? And, and I hate to, crap on the current iteration of Lingo, but I think that they lack that because a lot of people that go on that show seem to not know how to play. And as a viewer, I'm like, this is abysmal. So I want to think that like you want good players like Pyramid, if someone demonstrates that they are like really good at Pyramid, you want that shit. You want people to give awesome clues because that's what makes it entertaining. If people suck on a game show, as a viewer, it's boring and it's like, oh, well, this isn't. I mean, how many times have we seen game shows where, I mean, even on Price is Right when there's like a double over vid, it's like, that sucked. I mean, that was a waste of an hour.
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. But I mean, it's just you want to see people, if there are savant level people for a game show, those are the classic clips. Think about all the great, the most. Okay, I know you know this. The most awesome Pyramid win. Tell me, you know the category. Things that are what?
Oh, it was a tournament, wasn't it?
Yes.
Things that are enshrined. Sticks out to me. Yeah.
How many times in your life have you ever said the word enshrined just in casual conversation?
No, never.
Me?
Right.
Never.
Right.
And this fucker, I say that lovingly, I don't know how when they flipped that box around and said things that are enshrined, I mean, who was not watching that going, holy shit? Who it just seemed like, oh, they don't want, they clearly don't want them to win. No one's gonna get that, and they got it. That's legendary shit.
Yeah, that's amazing TV.
I mean,
it's good.
It is.
I mean, it's good gameplay, right? I think I'm not into sports at all, but I think sports fans look for that same thing. I mean, if you had a zero scoring game, who the hell would watch that?
Right. I mean, I know a lot of soccer fans, defend the 0-0 draw. I'm just thinking like, it's just like, oh, all the fans in the stands just kind of like shrug and go, oh, well, good game, mate. I guess, we'll.
Right.
It's
right.
like no one won, but no, but with the enshrined though, I mean that it was such an insane thing to get people to say. And I know for a fact when they wrote that, when they put that in the box, they were, there's no way they thought anyone would get this. Because again, I mean, like that word is not on my radar ever in my life. I don't think I've ever even said it outside the context of talking about that winner circle ever. Enshrined. Who says that? Oh, this beer is so good it should be enshrined in the. I mean, no one says that.
Right.
But that's the thing. We're talking about it, and then that happened in like 30, 40 years ago, and we're talking about it because it's memorable, because it was insane that they got it right. If compare that to, bless his soul, say like Tom Poston winner circles where he would flub like 4 of them. Yeah, I mean, it's just that there's a difference between memorable game show moments. There's a reason why they're memorable, and they're memorable because you're watching like people who are pros and it's entertaining. So that's why, I thought, well, I can destroy Lingo. And if you want a good game, and I don't think I quite said, I wasn't as cocky during the audition, but I did make it clear, like, I know how to play, because, they how it is in these LA local game shows. They get a lot of people off of Craigslist.
Sure.
And they do all these casting calls on like Venice Beach, and they just pull people and, do you want to win some money in a half hour? And these people have never heard of the show before. I never even heard of the Game Show Network before. I mean, that was clear to me. That some people had just hadn't, like, what channel is this on? What is this? They had no idea what this game was. And here I am, like a 12-year, fan of this thing, watching people. I wasn't expecting that. I'm sitting there hearing other people like asking each other, like, have you seen a show before? Like, so what happens when I'm just thinking, holy shit, like, this is mine for the taking.
Right, you're a shoo-in, sure.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not being cocky. I just I'm watching these people like confess they've never heard of the show, and here I am. I how can I help but feel like, I mean, there's just no way I was going to lose. It just, it was great.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah. So let's see.
We finished the audition process. You went through that whole thing, and I am not familiar with the taping schedule that Game Show Network shows have. It seems like they do a lot in a short period of time. How long did you wait between the end of the audition process and that time that you got the call that you were going to be on the show? How long did they make you wait for that?
So the time between the audition and the call was not very long, but the real question was, how long did it take to air? Well, I guess I'll get to that later. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to jump the gun there.
No, that's okay.
So I'll re-answer that question. I would say, so it did not take very long. I think I heard back, I'd say a couple of weeks. Standard, it wasn't painstakingly long. And of course, and I was surprised, I mean, like they just wanted to make sure I really could fly back when they were ready to have me. And I'm like, I mean, I will skip a week of work to, yes, I mean, I'm coming out. Don't worry about it. So, I fly back out again. Now here's the weird thing is that they told me this was going to be for a special Hawaiian themed week. Now, at the time, I went through a phase where I wore nothing but Hawaiian shirts. So that I thought maybe that was, some kind of cool sign, karma. It's weird though, because they never quite explained what that meant. Like there weren't any trips to Hawaii. I don't really understand like the point. I think they were looking. They kept telling us they were looking for a sponsor for this week of Hawaiian themed episodes. So, who am I to question? I'm like, whatever you want. I mean, sure, but we're wearing Hawaiian stuff for the show. I'm like, great. I have 15 Hawaiian shirts, so I got it. And then we get there. There's a little store on the way to the studio we stopped off at, so I could get a little flower to clip into my hair, just because I just thought it was funny.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who see that clip now. They ask me why I was wearing a flower in my hair, like it's something I just normally do randomly. It's like, well, don't you see the tiki torches and the guys juggling fire around us? Like, it's a Hawaiian episode, obviously.
Oh, early 2000s fashion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like the one Smurf, the Vanity Smurf that always wore the flower.
Right.
Anyway. All right, so it's interesting. They stick you in the green room. They introduced us to our challengers, who were nice guys, and they were in the room next to us. But just the mystery was we don't know how long we're in there for. They were taping all these other shows, and we were in there for I think 5 hours. And I there's a picture I took of me like taking a cup and pressing against the wall, trying to listen to our opponents. I really could hear them. It wasn't like soundproof walls, and we heard them practicing because they gave us like a whiteboard in our room. And one of the guys goes, okay, your word starts with B. And the other guy goes, bitches, ha 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 ha. I'm like, oh, they're just fucking around.
Those idiots.
By the way, bitches is 7 letters, so I'm
right,
just like,
wouldn't even be valid.
They're not even trying to make it fit. He could have said bitch. That would have fit at least. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, these guys are just pooping around, whatever. One thing that I would have to say about the underappreciated production staff, these guys kept checking on us, because you're sitting in a room for literally 5 hours. I mean, you're kind of, I mean, I already I didn't need to practice, but you just kind of, you're bored, right? You're just kind of sitting there there's just a couch in there, and they would kept checking on us. And this guy says, "Is there anything I can get you?" And just being funny, I said, "I would love like a big pack of red licorice and an orange juice." Like, not at all thinking he would do it. And about 10 minutes later, he returns with exactly that. I was like, that's cool. I should have asked. Yeah, I was like, I should have asked for a porterhouse steak and some horseradish on the side. No, but I thought that was really cool. Like, he went to a store and got that, and I was totally being funny. So, now I'm throwing down licorice and orange juice, and yeah. So we're waiting now. And I don't know if you want me to get into this part of the story.
Yeah,
but I will
get into it.
Okay. All right. So by this time, and I want to say I was probably about, let's see, it's 2005. I was about 30. Hold on a second, about 29, 28. By that time, I already had a relatively okay experience with hallucinogens. I wasn't like a huge druggie. It's just that I was introduced to LSD as a when I was about 19 or 20, and it was my first drug ever, and I took it originally just because I was fascinated by the explanation as to what it does, and it was not pitched to me as like a party drug where you're out of your mind and you're seeing all sorts of crazy things. It was more like your brain just kind of looks for logic and everything, and you could, yes, while there's like a stereotype of people getting involved in like really ridiculous conversations, to it makes perfect sense to debate, say, like the random pattern on like a marble tile, and you can have like an in-depth discussion on what you're seeing, and it's hilarious, and it seems logical, but I mean it's a little deeper than that. They're just like, all the experiences I've had on this substance just fascinate the hell out of me.
Right.
And I didn't do it too often. It wasn't really available very easily, and it was highly illegal at the time. But I always felt like I wanted, because of what the logical reaches that it gave my mind. I always felt like I wanted to do it in monumental situations, and I had a half of a hit with me, which is not a lot. It wasn't enough to really seem like I was out of control or anything. I was well versed in this to have the confidence that I was going to be in control, but I wanted to try this because the word that comes up when I describe trips is surreal. Everything is surreal, and in this case, I'm like, okay, I'm about to go on a game show that is based on a game that I spent the last decade of my life like understanding, and I had a system and I understood patterns, and I just wanted to like try to enjoy that in the more meta logical trip psychedelic way. I just thought this would be like a really weird, cool life experience. Again, it was just a small dose, just enough to give me the hallucinogenic kind of aura,
sure,
but not crazy enough to where I'm seeing like Chuck's face melting or anything.
Right.
So I actually took this LSD, and I tell people it's kind of unfortunate that it gets a bad rap because the street name is acid, and it sounds like you're breaking open a D-cell battery and you're licking it sounds caustic and toxic,
sure,
because of that word. But really, there's all sorts of studies on this, and they do all sorts of trials with people, trying to understand their mental capacity, and all the experiences I've had on this are way positive, and just way like it's impossible to describe, but it's
well, it sounds like it was something that was intended to enhance the significance of this moment for you.
Yes, that is exactly right. I mean, I'm about to go on TV, and that alone for someone who does not live in California is not a thing you say often, right? Is I'm about to go on TV, but not only am I going to go on TV, I'm going to go on a game show that I'm intimately familiar with. It's just an obscure game show to everybody else, but I'm like, I feel like I'm the one person on the planet that is like, that knows how this game, like knows how to just beat this game. I mean, I've had so much practice, and so I really wanted to. I didn't take this drug with the intent of doing anything else, but just trying to enjoy the moment in the familiar weirdness that I was accustomed to by tripping, right?
Sure.
So, but again, it was a half of a hit, so this is not like an intense amount. And again, and back then, this is kind of more of a taboo thing to even say because it wasn't everywhere. I mean, now, you hear about people microdosing and doing all, I mean, so it's a little more like trendy, but back then, like, to find it and to have it and to do it, it was, it was a certain like class of people, I guess. And I felt like, I knew it enough to trust that I wasn't gonna weird out and go crazy. I really wanted to experience. This is like the one time in my life that I'm gonna go on this game show that I thought I could really do well at. It's worth a trip, right? So I take it, and it's interesting with this kind of stuff. You have to time it right because it based on what you've eaten, your body mass, a lot of factors. That all calculates into when it kicks in for you. And really, just like any other game show, the goal is the bonus round, right? I mean, you want to get to the end. That's where the money is. That's where you don't want to lose the main game. But really, in this game particularly, I had to get to the bonus round. That was just key to me. I knew I would do it. But I couldn't lose sight of the goal, right? So, it's weird. When you're in this room, again, kind of in this weird office space, kind of connected to the studio, but not glamorous at all. You're just in this room with a couch. You're about to go out there onto a show. And it is just like, and I don't mean to Texanify this, but it is kind of like the guy sitting on top of like a rodeo bull, and it's all calm, before the gate bursts open, and then all of a sudden the bull's fucking thrashing you around everywhere, and now everyone's screaming and the clock's going.
Yep, the calm before the storm.
Yes, that is how it felt. It felt like, okay, we're just chilling in this room. We have no idea. I mean, when we first were let in this room, and it could have been an hour, it could have been 10 hours. We had no idea when. It was torture, really. But once they were giving the indication that it was coming soon, I took the stuff, and all of a sudden now we're thrust out in the studio. And there's Chuck. And it was, everyone just like 15, 20 people, the crew all milling around, putting microphones on. And, this is foreign to me. And I'm sitting there, thinking like, this is, so I'm here I am. Right. So
right.
I got to perform, but, and also I didn't know if they were going to make us take turns. I don't know why at that point that wasn't clear to me, but, I trained Heather on my system. I had a system where for every letter of the alphabet, we had a pre-memorized word for each of us. No matter what letter they put on the screen. I mean, no matter how many times they put it on there, like my word for P was piano and her letter for P was perch. And every single time we saw a P, those two words would come out first and second. And that was by design. I wanted to make, just in case they made us take turns, I wanted her to be prepared. And the intent of that system was that we want to smoke out the vowels. So we cover A, E, I, O, maybe U, and get a couple of consonants that are important in the first two tries. So by the third word, you should be able to kind of reason what the word is. And that pretty much worked. I mean, that we practiced that system leading up to the game. It was pretty solid. I had a defined list. We memorized 25 words. Of course, there's not going to be any X's. And I think I felt confident that we were ready to go. So now we're pitted against these two guys that I overheard next to us, right? The game starts. I mean, we're just destroying these dudes. I mean, we're mopping the floor, Christian.
Right. I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it.
This was a master class in Lingo.
No, thank you.
And I'll mention it.
Well, I mean, again, I joke when I act all kind of arrogant about it, but then at the same time, I can't deny that I was fucking good, right? So
Sure.
I'm just saying, like these guys, they really didn't know they stumbled into. They literally have never heard of the show before. I kind of felt bad for them because they have never heard of Lingo, and they're playing against what is arguably the world's savant. No, I'm kidding. All right, so
Well,
anyway,
I think the biggest Lingo fan probably that there's ever been.
And they were not aware of this, right? I think they thought, because they also met other people when we were all first there that also shared their confusion as to what Lingo even was. So they must have just thought that we were that too. I don't think that anyone thought that there was anybody sitting around that was like actually kind of like knows how to play this game. But we're playing and the luck element comes in where you have the ball draw. I don't remember if we drew a lot of red balls. I think we drew one or two. But the pivotal moment came when it was my opponent's turn. Because the design of the game is that and like a lot of game shows, in the later stages, anything can happen in Double Jeopardy. So like they double the points, they triple the points. So even if you like were killing it in the early part of the game, someone could just get lucky and take over from the technicality of just the triple score or something.
Well, not to mention the wild card balls. All of a sudden, it's easier to get a Lingo, which is worth double now.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because Shandy, the co-host, had actually pointed out to these gentlemen, you need a 42, I think, or 41 to Lingo. I mean, she said that in words, and the guy draws a question mark, which is the wild card. She just said what he needed, and it's right there in front of you on the screen, the little red arrows pointing at the number that you need for the Lingo. And he picks like 18 or just, I don't know if it was nerves. I don't understand. I mean, I'm standing there and I'm not trying to like shit on the guy because I maybe the whole lights camera stuff got to him. I don't know, but
it's entirely possible. It happens.
Sure. And then we've seen that a lot of times, but I could not believe. I'm like the guy did not even, not only did he not throw out 5-letter words, he didn't really grasp the fundamentals of bingo. I mean, again, I'm not shitting on him, but as his opponent, I'm just like, bring it home, baby.
Yeah, this is the easiest money you've ever made.
Yeah. So it's like, guys, make it a little a little challenging. All right, so suffice to say, we won. And now, I didn't get to say earlier. I brought with me my Encyclopedia of Game Shows by Fred Wostbrock and a couple other dudes.
Right.
I brought it with me because I wanted Chuck to sign it. So I gave that to one of the PAs while we were waiting a million hours. And he ran out, got Chuck to sign it, brought it back in. Chuck made this big scribble. It was kind of cool. All right, so now this is the one time during the game where I actually get to say something to Chuck real quick because I'm like 3 feet from him. And I said, hey, thanks for signing my book, man. And he goes, oh, that was you? Hey, so now he recognized I was a game show fan. And they let me talk to him, which I thought was kind of strange. You always hear that they separate you. You can't talk to the crew,
you can kind of fraternize. Right.
Yeah.
So you do get to talk to him.
Yeah. So between the main game and the bonus round, the stop down was about 10 minutes. They were moving podiums. They were filling the bowl with balls. It was a lot of activity going on. And Chuck was sitting right there. And I said, hey, Chuck, I just got to tell you, my favorite game show was Scrabble, one of them. And here's what I love about that conversation, because let's see, did he do Greed? No, he didn't do Greed yet, but he did. Everyone knows him from Love Connection and Wheel of Fortune, and it was so cool to hear him say, "Oh, me too." He grabbed his heart and he's like, "Me too." That was my favorite. And I'm like, no shit.
Wow,
he loved it.
That's so
that was
great.
cool. Yeah, because I Scrabble kind of gets. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it was nerves. I can't. I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't know. I I don't know how to say it. It's not like when people reminisce about 80s game shows. If you were to ask a non-game show fan, like name 10 80s game shows, Scrabble I don't think would like be on the radar really.
No, it's
I
like
mean,
not considered a classic, and it sucks because it was on for again like 6
long
years,
time,
right?
and then it came back again, right?
Right.
So I mean, it was fucking cool, and just to hear him validate that, yeah, like I loved it too, and I was like, wasn't it cool? All the sounds and all, and I'm trying to like really nerd out on it, and he's like, he was, he didn't have time to like tell me stories. I had like a bunch of questions, and one of my curiosities was like, was that a computer screen? Like was everything a computer screen? Because some of that stuff, like during the sprint and during, when they drop the tiles into the box and the letters pop up, that to me did not look like a computer screen. It looked more like one of those kind of one of those like almost what is that Family Feud style scoreboard, the
like
Ferrandini,
the Ferranti Packer, the flip dot
yeah,
kind of thing,
yeah,
right?
It kind of had that feel, the way the letters popped up like that, and it just didn't look like a computer screen to me. So I wanted him to tell me like the technical aspects of what I was looking at, and he just dismissively said, yeah, those are computers. So at that point I was like, I'm not sure if he really knows for sure,
Right.
but okay, sure, whatever. So but then right before we went back to taping, I did say to him, by the way, I'm going to get 9 words in the bonus round. And I think at that point the record was 7.
Right.
And he said to me, oh yeah, right. I mean, he's like, yeah, you were good at the game, but I mean, you're not getting 9 words. He just kind of scoffed at me. And so then I was like, oh bitch, now you're gonna you go eat your words, baby.
Now you will
all
see.
Right. Yes. Let me roll up my sleeves. So then what happened was, just at that moment, because again, you really can't kind of time this, but I would have to say that the drugs maybe kind of kicked in right at that moment. I don't know if it was him challenging me that had sparked that, but no, it was just the amount of time that went by. But let me ask you this question: what is your favorite arcade game? That you think you're good at, like you could just destroy the high score at, or when you were a kid?
It'll be one of two. So either Tetris, the original Tetris, or Galaga. Those would be my 2.
Okay, let's take Galaga. Let's pretend you're playing Galaga, but you are the little space. You are actually the spaceship thing, whatever the little thing that shoots is called. Like you are in the game. Like you are physically like manifested. You are holding the missile launcher, and you are actually that is what this felt like. Like the bonus round was what I was waiting for, because it is basically like the solo game. You get 2 letters per word, and Heather, bless her heart, was super cool about me just taking over.
Yeah,
a lot of
she
people
did not say a word during that round, and I wondered if, because I had always thought, or it had always seemed to me as a viewer of Lingo, that they must encourage you to take turns. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily a hard and fast rule, but it seems like they say before the game, try to give each other room to speak. But you drove that single-handedly.
Well, and that was by design, and I give her a lot of credit, because I've seen people's comments on the YouTube clips saying Heather didn't do anything. Well, she actually got us on the show, and she also, during the main game, I mean, she did throw out words as part of our system, and they worked, and she solved some words, and I mean, we got to the end. That was the goal. But she knew that I was like an obsessed super nerd of this game, and really the question was, do you want to win an easy $2,500, $5,000 just by hanging out for 2 minutes and looking pretty on TV?
Sure.
And she was incredibly cool. She didn't have any reason to take credit, or she wasn't looking to be a Lingo starlet. She knew that this was, this is something I had to do. It was like my mission. So she was very cool about it. Because at the risk of looking like me just taking over, it wasn't like that. It was more like, okay, she knew that, she respected that I like had this in the zone shit about this game, and do we want to win money? Is that the point of this thing? Let me just I'll get us some money. So I just at that point, and so I it's weird because they switch monitors. Like during the whole main game, you're looking at a very large projection screen, and for the bonus round, they turn our attention onto like just a large CRT kind of off to the side, like 23-inch television. I don't know why, but and I could see it. I don't need glasses, but I did bring my glasses because I wanted to channel Betty White's. I always thought this was kind of cool that every time Betty White was in a bonus round, only in a bonus round, she always like puts her glasses on right before the bonus round starts. I've just seen that happen so many times. It just kind of became like my own little inside joke with myself. Like every time I watched her on a game show, I'm like, oh, here come the glasses. And then turn out it's like she's just got some kind of like cheat superpower in these glasses. Or so
I always like that too. It always seemed like she was taking that part super seriously. Like, let me make sure I could see this.
Right. Let me see this shit.
Yeah.
Like, right. As everybody knows, Betty White's like, the master of all game shows he's been on. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do a weird, just to throw her some props, just in a very super game show nerdy way, and I'm gonna just put my glasses on as the timer started, even though I did not need them. So I did that, and now, kind of like my Galaga analogy. I mean, I really was like, it was like I was in this weird video game where it's me and the words, and that really, like, I just felt so at home. Sounds dopey, right? But
no, but it doesn't sound dopey. Again, this is like, and we see this a lot these days when it comes to Jeopardy, when it comes to people who have been studying the J Archive for years, watching the show, trying out their own buzzer skills at home, and now they're finally in this space where all these skills come together. And yeah, it's like they're home. It's like they're right where they need to be.
Right. It's like you've been building up your entire life for this moment, really. Like people on Jeopardy, you and I know several, and I think the recurring story with all of them was this was kind of like the holy grail of game shows. I mean, this is something that you watch as a kid or you watch just obsessively as a young adult, and you picture yourself on stage. When I watch Jeopardy with my kids, and my son who likes to watch it with me sees me nail all these categories. I'm like, God, why am I not in this episode?
Right.
I mean, I would destroy everybody, but it's you picture yourself on stage. Like, how would I do against these people? Would I win? And I think all these Jeopardy contestants, they go through that, and then when they're finally there, save for those who succumb to the whole lights and camera phenomenon of just kind of getting nervous. Those you can kind of tell who are locked in and who are really like ready to take it on, and they're in the zone, right? So the whole lights and camera thing was just ancillary, just peripheral. I knew they were there. I knew this was going to be on TV, but I think that maybe that kind of fueled it a little bit, because I'm like, I wasn't wanting to just show off. I knew the patterns of these words so well. There was no question in my mind. I was just gonna rip the shit, right?
Sure.
And so the bonus round starts, and they give you 2 letters of a 5-letter word, and just right away I just felt comfortable with the back and forth of me and the computer. I really thought these were easy words. They give you bonus letters to use that you've earned through the main game. It gives you an extra letter in case you need help. There was one word that so in my system, and this system goes back to when I was 12, like when I was first writing that basic program. I did not include words that had double letters in them, because I always felt like, let's say the mystery word is apple, right? And you say, I don't know. Okay, peach. Well, there's 2 P's in the word. So even though the P would light up, well, it's a bad example. If you give a letter that is in the word and in that position, but there's another one also, then there should be kind of a way for the computer to tell you that. I mean, I always just I didn't program my game with words that had repeating letters because I did not know how to handle showing that. I thought it was kind of unfair to say, oh, yep, P is in the word. It's also somewhere else in the word. I kind of thought that was some bullshit that they didn't have a way of showing that phenomenon, right?
Sure.
So I never included in my massive list of 900 5-letter words any words that had double letters or repeating letters in it. So and that's the flaw. I got tripped up where they had a word starts with AF as in Frank, and I did not know what the fuck this word was, and I'm like, AF. I mean, there's no 5-letter word that starts with AF, not F, third letter, that I could think of. So I had to just I felt like John Carpenter, like how he didn't want to burn any of his lifelines.
Sure.
Like I wanted to just make it through without having to use these. So I felt like I gotta burn one. So I asked for a bonus letter, and now it's AFF blank blank. I'm like, what the fuck is this word? It just wasn't. I mean, I never came across it in all of my lingoing.
Sure.
One more bonus letter, please. AFFI. I'm like, okay, it's a fix. That's a dirty word, really.
It was a dirty word. When I saw that one, oh shit, that was on purpose.
Yeah, I think it might have been. And you can actually hear me if you amp up the volume, you can actually hear me say to Heather, that was a tough one.
Yeah.
Because I was like, shit, they got me.
An X, right.
An X, 2 Fs, but then it was kind of smooth sailing. And it's funny, like a lot of people have written funny little like recaps of this, how they do with all game show appearances, all game show clips. There's like all commentary, and someone did a really long treatise on my appearance and had to said that my average was 1.8 words per round, and I nailed I think 4 bingos, meaning like just getting the word straight off in the first guess. I mean, there is luck in that, obviously, that when you just pick the right word that fits the pattern. But now here's what's interesting though. On the 10th word, which, by the way, I wasn't even like conscious to gloat to Chuck when I hit 9, like I said I was gonna. Now we're on 10.
Right.
And I say, so it's D blank C blank blank. And I said the word ducks. And I remember so this is what kind of broke me out of my little trip bubble for a minute, because it shattered me. So the clock is running, but you don't, in Lingo, you do not see a clock.
Okay.
So you do not have no idea how much time is left. And they misspell the word. So now I'm freaking out. Like, I mean, I watching game shows, of course, they're going to correct it. But I don't know what was something I never thought of was when that kind of shit happens, what do they do about the clock, right? Let's say there was a clock running that I could see, and they fuck up on the spelling of my word. Well, then they have to credit the time back or something. I mean, the clock's running still. So I actually said during that moment, when I saw that they had to backspace, so someone, and by the way, it's not Shandy typing, obviously, right? Sure. Someone in the back typing the stuff in, and they backspaced, and I said, do I, I already got 9 words, like, what was I worried about? But I'm like, no, I'm in the zone. I'm like, do I get credit for the time? And Chuck's like, keep going. Just don't worry about it. Keep going. I'm like, okay.
Right.
So I just trusted that they were going to properly credit the time.
Yeah, they were going to make it right. Sure.
Right, but I still, to this day, seen that clip a million times. I don't know how they edited that so seamlessly. Now there is a Canadian pal of ours that goes by the name Noemi's 10, who had pointed out how he had reasoned how this has gone. There's some forensics involved in looking at this clip.
Still waiting for results from the lab.
Yes. They but the results of so what's interesting is it's the one time during the bonus round where Chuck actually repeats back to me what I spell. I said ducks, DUCKS, and then you hear Chuck go Ducks. Now that would kill time if he did that any other time. It's like, why did he all of a sudden do it there? He says Ducks, and then you see it, and then certain letters light up. It wasn't coming to me, so I just thought I had to revert to my strategy of just getting more vowels out. So I said drive, Drive, and then all of a sudden I saw that it was diced, which is also kind of a
it was
not a
tricky.
great word.
It was tricky.
Diced, past tense of dicing, right?
Right.
So,
right.
But I got it, and then there's 13 seconds left, and I didn't know that, but I mean, I still hear the music, but now all of a sudden the computer is blank, and I kind of shrugged it to Shandy and Chuck. I'm like, are there any more words? Like, what's up? I'm like, where are they? I don't even know if I knew how many words I had. I just kind of I just waiting for more, like, where's the next word? And then they only load 10 words into the game. I didn't know that. I mean, I guess they didn't know that. Like, they didn't. I guess Chuck didn't know that, definitely, because he's like, you broke the bank.
Well, watching that, I didn't know it either, and I saw there was an edit there where they said, 10 words, that's it, that's all you can get in bonus lingo.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, but I guess it stands to reason that you can't get more words, thereby giving you more chances at getting a bingo on your final board. You know what I mean? Because for
Right.
every correct word that you guess, you get to
Is
pull
a
the
draw.
ball at the end. Right.
That's right.
So I guess they can't give you, you know what I mean? They can't,
Right. There's no reason to have like 50 words.
the climax like that. Right.
Right. However, I mean, really, I think I've seen people say that if you get 7, chances are it's still like a 93% chance you're going to win. Or if you get 8, it's almost just like a I don't remember the stats. There's a certain threshold where once you get a certain number and it's not 10, you are guaranteed to win. I can't quite. Maybe it is 10. No, I'll figure this out later. But,
Right.
but the point is that there were no more words, but it shocked them because they both. I mean, Chuck shrugs and says, there are no more words. You broke the bank, and Shandy's like, you only get 10 words, and then Chuck says that was phenomenal, and I was very flattered. I mean, I was kind of gloating a little bit. He challenged me. Chuck didn't believe in my powers. But so now comes the ball draw, your favorite part, Christian. Right.
Thank you so much.
So, yes. So here it is. And again, I know this looks really selfish, and there's a story behind why I had to draw this ball. And it is, I had this weird, and this is not drug related, as far as I'm aware. The night before, I had this really weird premonition. Like, if, because the whole hook of this the bonus round is that you win $5,000 if you get a lingo, just period, right? And you draw a ball for every word that you've solved. But if you happen to get a lingo in the first draw, you win double that, or 10,000. And okay, so I'm just thinking, I just had this weird thought that the winning ball was just going to be laying on the top of the stack of balls. I don't know why I thought that, but I asked Heather, listen, if it's okay, not only am I going to just like take over the bonus round, do you mind if I draw first too? I know it looks so selfish, and but I felt like if I didn't do it, I would never know. Like, if my weird idea, and again, it wasn't like we're just here for me. I mean, the show cuts checks evenly. It was they split the money. She gets half the money. So she was completely fine with whatever, which was super awesome. She didn't care. It would, she would have been like, no, I want to draw. I mean, I understand that the people would probably want to, feel like they want to have a hand in this, but she totally respected that this is my weird 12-year-old game show nerd fucking fantasy, just ridiculous shit, and she was completely respective of that.
Right.
So
good for her.
Yeah, totally. She's super cool, and and she didn't give a shit. Like this was not something she thought she would do. Right, go on Lingo. Right. So I invited her along, and she it was just fun. It was just like standing around. We get to be on TV. Fuck it. Right. So she was cool. She's like, yeah. I said, I just during the break, when they loaded the balls into the hopper, they made us turn our backs so we couldn't see them.
Right.
Right. And they actually specifically say, we want you to mix the balls. We want you to stick your hand in and just jumble them around. You know, like the camera kind of shows your hand, like mixing the balls. And I'm just thinking, shit, I can't do that because, you know, I think the winning ball is going to be laying on the top layer if I mix the balls. So I'm like, what are they, you know, I don't want to like, you know, go against all their rules, but I was just thinking, what are they going to do if I just kind of foink off the top of it, right? So I just reach down and I just pull straight up the top ball. And I have never been of the conspiracy mindset where they purposely put the winning ball, like they settle it on top, hoping you mix it to not win. I mean, I've never, you know, dived that far to think that this was intentional. I just think that they want to show you mixing it. I don't know. I mean, I guess it just makes for good TV. You're scooping your hand through a hopper full of fucking bingo balls, right?
Sure.
So, but I'm just like, I cannot. For the subsequent balls, yes, I will shuffle all you want. But for the first ball, I just need to pluck this one off the top.
Yeah.
And I reach down, and it's the ball we need, the 10. And I mean, it was just like, it just, it was cool, of course, because, you know, it felt like it capped off my feat in the bonus round. Even though the fact that I got 10 with 13 seconds left meant shit as far as the fact that we won, and we would have won at least 5,000. It still was a little bit of validation that, like, okay, well, at least we won the top prize just because of this silly ball draw element.
Sure.
Right?
Well, like you said, I think it caps off the experience in a very poetic sort of way.
Right. Oh no, and it right. If we didn't get the Lingo in the first draw and we had to draw like 7 times and then get it, okay, we still would have won, but it wouldn't have that magic aura of like holy shit, what is going on here? You not only like destroyed the game, but you pulled the ball in the first. I mean, those two things together made it for a funny, entertaining little bonus round.
Yeah, for sure. And it couldn't have gotten it couldn't have gone any better. You know what I mean? You maxed it out in both ways.
Right. And you know, not to say that. So as a game show purist, right, I always felt like your performance should be commensurate to the winnings. And you know, while I totally understood how this version of Lingo went, and I knew the rules, and I knew that the 10 grand was only won by the bingo draw. When they came out with the next iteration of Lingo, where the top prize was now $100,000. Yes, I wouldn't say I'm bitter, but I would say, like, what the hell?
True.
I mean,
true. You had to work a lot less hard, I think, for
I
a
think
lot
5
more
words.
money. Right. Something like that.
$100,000. That it's funny. People like to ask, what do you do with the money? And that's not really a personal question to me. I don't care. It's 10 grand. We split it 2 ways. The show, you know,
sure.
Taxes. I mean, it really, the $5,000 is, you know, if you think about the cost of 2 flights out to LA, all the shit leading up to that, I might have cleared $3,200. And that, look, it's just like finding it on the street. It's great. I'm not complaining. You know, it's a nice dinner. No, I'm kidding. No, it's you know, definitely like a couple of credit card payments, and you know, we just bought a condo. It was great. I mean, it was good timing for that. But it's no $100,000, right? So you know, there is, I wouldn't say an injustice, but you know, seeing that on that next iteration of Lingo really made it seem like man, these guys they just have to do nothing to win like 6 figures. It's crazy.
Well, I think though, at the end of the day, and I'll kind of say this in closing, but you know, at the end of the day, not only did you win the $10,000, but at the same time, it is the culmination of something the seed of which was planted back in the late 80s. And I mean, you know, I talk a lot on the show about how, you know, getting on the show is an achievement in and of itself. It's a prize, it's a win, and anything after that is sort of, you know, bonus money, kind of icing on the cake. But I think nowhere is this more true than in a situation like this, where you've sort of manifested this success, way
Yes,
back. And, to even have the experience to be able to meet Chuck and then to have the video on YouTube that you can watch so many years later and have that video bring so much joy to so many people. Because, I mean, it's you've gotten a lot of views on that video of you winning that bonus round. It's a great little piece of television.
It is the gift that keeps giving. I mean, people do bring it up often. There are people that actually recognize me in Texas from that, which is insane to me. I guess I have the same hair. I don't walk around with a flower in my hair, but I mean, maybe if I did, it would people recognize that more. But no, you're right. It is it's a testament to really just the pursuit of programming that kind of got me into this to begin with. I mean, really, it was just me messing around, wanting to make a game that got me so just so ingrained in this game that I really kind of grew up with it. Even though it wasn't airing on TV, I grew up with Lingo just in my own world.
Are you the kind of person who considers opportunities like this to be in the control of somebody other than yourself?
It's a deep question, Christian.
You know what I mean? Because I could feel like I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, right? And I'm trying to imagine, I guess we'll do similar circumstances, right? Let's say I fall in love with Lingo in 1988, and there's the love of this game furthers my interest in programming, furthers my interest in games and word games and puzzles and in Lingo itself. And then suddenly the game comes back. I would feel like this was something that was sort of constructed for me. This is an opportunity that has my name on it.
You mean like in a supernatural kind of almost quasi-religious way?
Maybe something other than human, I guess I would say. Just something larger than yourself controlling this sphere.
I would say yes to that, because not only did I not ever expect Lingo to become a game again, but really, like you say, getting on the show really is, I mean, to me, it's like 95% of the battle. I know a lot of people get on shows easy, and then their battle is the show. But I mean, getting on the show has been the struggle for me in my pursuit of game showdom, to where, yes, I always feel like I'm at the mercy of the game show contestant coordinator gods. And somehow, just for Lingo, I was able to be given the chance to show my shit.
Tell Us About Yourself. Conversations with Game Show Contestants is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Christian Carrion, from my studio in beautiful downtown Lancaster City, Pennsylvania. Co-executive producer Cory Anotado. Researcher Chuck Donegan. This has been a production of BuzzerBlog, the most popular game show website in the world, in partnership with the National Archives of Game Show History at the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York. For more information, visit museumofplay.org. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Christian Carrion. Good night. Tell Us About Yourself. Conversations with Game Show Contestants is produced in partnership with the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester, New York, one of the largest history museums in the United States and one of the leading museums serving families with highly interactive exhibits and programs. Since 1968, the Strong Museum has been dedicated to exploring the ways in which play encourages learning, creativity, and discovery, and how it illuminates cultural history. And their National Archives of Game Show History.
Founded by industry veterans Bob Bowden and Howard Blumenthal, the archive is home to thousands of artifacts representing over 80 years of broadcasting, including props, set designs, video interviews with game show professionals, and other iconic elements from the history of television at play. For more information about the National Archives of Game Show History or the Strong National Museum of Play, visit museumofplay.org or call area code 585-263-2700.